This is the virtual meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Folks that are attending, your voice or image may be recorded. Let's see. First of all, I'd like to thank Keith for being our techie. I'd like Sue especially. I've given her a couple of duties and she's been kind enough to volunteer for one, so I gave her two more. And Margaret and Mary Arata, for helping us along the way here. If not, I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing. Oh, well, I should take a roll call. Keith?
Present.
Jim?
Present.
Ginny?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Susanna?
Yep.
And Pat, you're here?
Yep.
Okay. Is that everybody? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I can count too. Okay.
It's a good day.
I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing for the Chapter 40B for the Capes of Berlin.
That come up?
Do we record size, Keith?
Yeah, I can't get rid of size.
Is someone going to make a motion?
So moved.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Do we have a second, do we?
It's not working.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Our next meeting is when, Keith?
July
Oh, there it
15th?
is.
Excuse me, it's Margaret. I'm just, you should take your votes by roll call, please. Okay.
Okay,
Because it's virtual.
thank you for reminding me. Okay, Keith,
Yeah, yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Jenny,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Pat.
Yep.
Okay. I'll entertain another motion if someone wants to make it to continue the hearing to our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call again. Keith,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Pat.
Yes.
this is the
Okay.
motion to continue which hearing, just so I can write it down correctly.
This is the Chapter 40B for the Capes of Berlin. We opened the hearing and we voted to continue it until our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, we have a couple of seconds before we can start the next or open the next hearing, which is a quarter of. Denny just left his
Yeah,
position.
I'm right here. I'm getting my book.
Oh, you figured it would be, huh?
Yeah, I did payroll for Leanne today and signed off on $224.50 for 10 hours of work in May.
In May, okay. This is just a notification. He is our single signatory, but he's required to notify us at the next meeting. Anyone have any questions? If not, do we have minutes? I don't think so, right?
We do have minutes to,
I
Oh,
thought we
from
had
the
them
last meeting.
online.
She sent them out
Okay,
for Wednesday, May 13th.
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
Motion to
or-
approve the meetings from Wednesday, May 13th, 2020.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye? Yeah, here we go. All right, Keith,
aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ginny,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. One of the other things we're going to discuss, and maybe you can take a chance to look at it. Did you look at the two bylaws that I asked you to review before our meeting?
Yep.
And you see the inconsistency. Does anybody have any thoughts on it? I wanted to discuss it with you folks before I went any further. Anyone have an objection to serving for a 5-year term?
Mm. I'm
It's
thinking
okay.
hard.
I'm sorry?
I'm thinking hard. What if you don't want to?
You can resign at any time.
Okay.
If you say you're going to serve for 5 years, it's not imperative.
Okie doke.
We will, but you know us, we'll hold you to it, Pat.
But
But no, it is possible to resign in the middle of a term.
Okay, thank
if
you.
I understand the whole process correctly, it's basically to have the 5 primary members on the board where one's term expires each year. So if somebody leaves the board and then somebody comes in to replace them, that replacement person would maintain the same expiration date on their term.
Exactly.
So they would
They'd be appointed for the rest of the term.
Yeah, and then it would be renewed at the end of that. So if I agree to serve for 5 years and then 3 years into it, I would leave the board, somebody who comes in to replace me would come in to serve 2 years, and then they would have to get reappointed after that.
Right. We'll have to work out some system whereby the current terms are spread over 5 years. So someone may serve for 2 years, someone may serve for 3 years, someone may serve for 1 year, but that will be how we do things going forward. It also requires there be 3 alternates. I believe we should stay with that. How do the rest of you feel? I mean, we don't have to fill the position, but it's there.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Nope.
So I'm getting from
Okay.
you, folks, that you'd be willing to serve for 5-year terms, or that having 5-year terms would be fine. And maybe I can come back with a plan for spreading the terms out over 5 years so that one expires every year.
Okay.
All right. I just wanted to discuss it with you before I made it an issue, because this has been going on for a bit. And I know Mary Arata told me I was nuts, but that no, it's every 2 years and so on. But I did, when I was going through looking for something else, come across both of these things, and it's a 5-year term. Okay. Do you think we have time? We have at least another 5 minutes. Do you think we have time to do the reorganization?
Well, my question is, you said there were 2 chapters or 2 things we were looking at. Is this just one of them?
One of them is Chapter 40A, Section 12.
Right, that's the one we're talking about now.
That's the state law. But also, if you look in your Bible, it's, I want to say 1240. Let me just see. It's 1211. That's what establishes the Board of Appeals. That's in our bylaw. That's in the town zoning bylaw.
That was the one you sent out with some text that was red in it. There was like one highlighted sentence.
It may be, yeah. I thought I sent both of them out, but usually I've gone through Leanne just to prevent any issues. But yeah, it says basically they're 5-year terms, and it also says we have 3 associate members.
Yep.
So all we really need to do now is realign the terms so that they agree with Chapter 48, Section 12, and Article 1211 in our personal zoning bylaw. We still have 5 minutes. Would that be time enough for us to do the reorganization? We've been kind of lax with this, and what I figure is we should probably do it in June, and that it should be for the term starting July 1st through June 30th of the following fiscal year.
Okay.
So in order to do that, the chairman can't do it. This is one of the other duties that I have given to Susanna. So Susanna, I hand you the gavel.
Okay, thank you. I just have to find the email you sent me with all the words. But yeah, it's on, wait a minute. See. Okay, here we go. Am I officially the chair now?
I've handed you the gavel.
Okay. I am now accepting nominations for Chair of the Berlin Zoning Board of Appeals for fiscal year 2021. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Lynn.
I second Lynn.
You guys are sure, huh?
I
Mhm.
third it.
Okay. Any others? All right, I have a nomination for Chair. And I have to repeat, are there any other nominations? Okay, if there are not, the nominations for Chair of the Berlin Zoning Board are closed. We will do a roll call vote. So, I have to type this at the same time, so bear with me. All right, so Keith, how do you vote?
I vote
Do
for
you vote-
Lynn.
Okay. Is this a yay or a nay, or we just say we're voting
Doesn't
for
matter,
Lynn?
as long as you know it's a yes or a no.
Okay,
Yes, for Lynn.
okay. Jim,
Yes.
Ginny,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Lynn, do you vote?
I just as soon not. I'll just
Okay,
vote, I'll vote present, and you can vote.
okay, I vote yes.
Okay,
All right, do I hand the gavel back now?
you may if you wish.
Okay. Gladly. You are now
Okay.
back to being chair.
Okay, thank you, I think. We aren't required by law, but we have always had a vice chair. I think it's a good idea. Because if the chair isn't there, there's no question or anything as to who would do what needs to be done. I'll now accept nominations for vice chair for FY21 for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I nominate Jim Royer.
Second. Am I allowed to second? I'm an alternate.
Of course you are.
Okay.
I have a nomination that's been first and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, I'll do a roll call vote of those present. Jim?
Present.
Okay. Ginny?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, one of the things we are required is to have a clerk. I'll entertain motions for the clerk for FY21.
That's what Denny does, right?
That's what Denny does.
Okay, I nominate Dennis.
I will second it.
Chickens like
Okay.
it.
I have a first and a second. I have a nominee. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Keith,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Danny,
Present.
Sue,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, we have our offices for next year. It appears to me that it's now 6:45. Do we have our petitioners online?
We have at least one. Christopher Flood is here. Would you like me to promote him, or how do we want to do this?
Okay, first, yes, you can promote him. But first off, I'd like to hear from Sue. I reviewed the return receipts. They look good for me. There's 2 missing. I'm going to ask him if and when he receives them back that he gives us copies. But did you have a chance to look at them?
I was able to verify that the newspaper clippings were done correctly. And I did see that there were 2 missing for the abutters. I don't have any of the slips, but I just saw the notices that there was 2 that were not returned.
Okay, there should have been an attachment with the slips. Did you see that?
I did not get an attachment with slips, but I did get the attachment with the newspaper clippings.
Okay, you included, Mr. Flood, you included the return receipts, did you not?
Yes, we gave you copies of the letters with
Yeah,
the certified mail and the green cards for all but 2 people that didn't respond.
And you still haven't heard from those 2 people?
Those last 2 people have not
And-
yet. We thought we might get the green cards yesterday or today, but they didn't show up, and I would have sent them over.
Okay, when you get them, you'll send them even if it's like undeliverable or whatever?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
May I ask, one of the other participants that I heard say before was Anna, and Anna is with my client. Can we promote her so she can also attend the meeting?
Doing that now.
Thank you.
Does she have a
also-
last name? The last name for Anna?
Anna Sousa and Selvin Ruano Monroy, who is the owner of 100 River Road West. And William, and I think his last name is Rodriguez, but I'll have him introduce himself when they get promoted. They're all free together.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, if I could ask you to send an email to the ZBA and I'll forward it to Sue with the names of those that participated on your behalf or on the behalf of your client. Is that reasonable?
Yes. You want
We
me to
just want to make sure, we have titles and correct spellings.
Got it. And I'll make sure that gets done.
Anna, how do
Oh.
you spell your last name while you're here? I'll change it for the meeting.
I'm sorry?
Oh, Anna, you're muted. We can't hear you. That's okay. When it starts working, we can try.
All right. Have we opened this meeting yet?
We have not.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm caught up.
So I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing for 100 River Road for an appeal of a determination by the building inspector.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move and a second. I'll take a roll call vote. Keith,
Yes.
Ginny,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
and myself. Okay, so the hearing is open. Mr. Flood, I don't know if you're going to conduct this band, but usually we will then now turn things over for the presentation to be made by the petitioner.
And I will make it on the petitioner's behalf.
Well, then you have the floor.
Thank you very much. So
Or
first of
the
all, my name
screen,
is,
or the screen as it may be.
can everyone see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So my name is Christopher Flood. I'm an attorney from Marlborough, and I represent Selvin Ruano Monroy. And Mr. Monroy owns 100 River Road West. He purchased the property in March of this year. He had rented the property for approximately 1 year prior to that. And as you all probably know, was operating a landscape business that he owns out of that property before he moved in.
I have no
That's-
idea.
Did not know that.
No, I didn't know that either.
I think that was part of what the hearing is about, is that the building inspector, Mr. Hank, had sent a letter in April citing them for the use of the property for the landscape business. So I was just giving some background as to how we got to this point. So for the 1 year prior, they had rented the property from the previous owner and operated their business out of there. And until the letter had come in April of this year, they were not aware that there were any problems or complaints from any neighbors or any town representatives. In April, they received a letter from Mr. Hank indicating that they had violated the Berlin zoning bylaws by operating a contractor yard on that property. Within the 30 days of the letter, an appeal was filed, and the appeal sought a couple things. One is a determination that the penalty hopefully would be delayed or held in abeyance until we had a chance to come before the board and seek a special permit and or variance. I've since had some communication with Ms. Ryan and understand that it really will just be a special permit that we can request, because a use variance would not be allowed under your zoning bylaws. We have since submitted a new letter to Mr. Hank, and I sent a copy of that letter with my email to the ZBA, along with copies of the publication and the letters that we sent, and asked for his determination that Mr. Monroy can continue to use the property as he has been using it. I think we expect that he will deny it. That's what he told me. And then subsequent to that, I think we would reapply to come back before you in an effort to try and make our case as to why this property and this person should be allowed a special permit to operate his, basically it's a home-based business out of 100 River Road West. We do understand now, though, in the email I got from Ms. Ryan, there are no special permits or variances being heard at this time or until the state of emergency is lifted. So we understood that the limit of tonight's hearing was solely on the issuance of the letter from Mr. Hank, denying their use and imposing fines. So what we're asking tonight is that those fines be either delayed or stayed or waived until we have a chance to come back before you and make a presentation as to, we hope, why this board would, would allow a special permit for Mr. Monroy to continue to operate his business in a similar manner to that he is now, but it would not be in strict conformity with the current bylaws of the town of Berlin. So we're hoping that we get a chance to do that when the state of emergency is lifted. And until that time, we're hoping that they don't have to pack up and move the business, which is extremely difficult, especially in a coronavirus time. And then if we're able to convince you, have to move it back. So for those reasons, we're asking that for tonight's purposes, that the fines be stayed or delayed until such time as we get a chance to come back before you and properly make our pitch for the special permit.
Mr. Flood, if you do real estate law, you do understand the Zoning Board of Appeals has no authority to make a decision to lift any fines or do any of the other things you're implying. What we do have the authority to do is to determine whether or not the finding of the building inspector was correct and that it goes along, is consistent with our bylaw. So if you have any testimony to give us that would lead us to believe, I'm sorry, go ahead. You wanted to speak, Mr. Flood?
No, I'm listening to you.
Okay, I saw you light up. I thought you.
No,
So
I might have just moved, that's all.
the only determination that is within our authority this evening is to decide whether or not the cease and desist was valid. Was the petitioner operating in violation of the zoning bylaw. Do you have any information that would sway us one way or the other?
Well, my clients, I'm not sure if you can hear them. I don't know if they have anything to add to that, but I think they have been running the business. And I think Mr. Hank identified it as a contractor yard. I did look through the definitions that I saw in the zoning bylaw. And while I see yards, I don't see a definition of contractor yard. So if we're limited to only whether or not the cease and desist order is accurate, I guess our best argument would be that I don't yet see a definition of contractor yard. I don't think it's uncertain as to what everybody believes it is, but I don't see a specific definition.
Mr. Flood, there's no definition, but it is listed in 340 in the chart of what's allowed in different areas. And a contractor's yard is not allowed in the district that he's in, according to that chart. Have you reviewed the information I sent you?
I did.
So, do you believe that I'm misinterpreting the bylaw?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that my clients are necessarily using the property as a contractor yard, but no, I would never suggest that you're misinterpreting anything. I'm not trying to be rude in any way.
Your argument may be that it's not a contractor's yard?
I don't believe they're using the property as a contractor's yard. Correct. And
In what category does it fall, sir?
in what category does their use fall?
Right.
I'm not sure if I have an answer to that, but if Mr. Hank has determined that it is in fact being used as a contractor yard, and we don't have a definition of a contractor yard, I think our best case is that we ask that the cease and desist order be found to be invalid because there is no definition of how my clients are using their property in violation of the zoning bylaw. I don't think there's any doubt. We're not coming in front of you and trying to snow you in any way to say that they're not operating a business. I don't act that way, but I see that we're kind of locked into a position of we have to determine only whether or not the letter was accurate. So our best case is that where there's no definition of contractor yard, he has cited them for using it as a contractor yard. And
so how would you define the yard? I know you have said you're going to come forward asking for home-based contracting business. Is the equipment in the yard consistent for what's allowed for home-based contracting business?
the current equipment that they use is probably allowed, but it's in excess of the numbers that I see on your, I think it's 541 chart.
You confuse me, sir. Is it within the framework? Is the equipment that's there, is it within the framework of a home-based contracting business? Is that what you're claiming it is?
The equipment itself consists of trucks and trailers. So I think the answer is yes, because I think those are the items that I see in the chart. But I do recognize that my clients have more trucks that are commonly allowed, or that are allowed under your home-based contractor.
Just for our purposes, is this 100 River Road, do they own just one lot? Are there multiple lots there?
There's one 2-acre, slightly bigger than 2-acre lot. They are in negotiations to buy the neighboring lot as well.
Okay, so.
But they own one 2-acre lot with frontage on River Road West.
So you know the bylaw requires a certain amount of equipment for 80,000 square feet,
That's correct.
and your client exceeds that. That would give me cause to believe why the building inspector may or may not have called it a contractor's yard. Have you noticed that there's no outside storage allowed in a home-based contracting business.
Have I noticed that?
Well, did you read that in the bylaw?
I did see that in the bylaw.
Is there outdoor storage of materials?
I'm not sure if there's any out. I know that there's trucks and trailers there. I'd have to ask my client whether or not there's any materials.
Well,
Not to
please-
my knowledge, but I don't know.
Please feel free to do so.
Can they be heard?
Anna, the software says that your microphone and video are working. We can see your video. Do you know if you have a microphone on your system and if it's turned on by chance? Because we can't hear you right now. One possibility, yeah, let's see, you muted that.
She's muted now.
You're muted now. If you can turn it back on and try it. Yeah, it seems like your system microphone is not.
Perhaps they could call in with a cell phone to one of the numbers if they want to be able to speak.
That's a great idea. You could also log out of this and back in and make sure you click use computer audio when you come back in and see if it works the second time. But you can also call in with your cell phone and we'll be able to hear you. At least we won't see you.
Could someone give them the phone number in case they choose that route?
Sure. Let me look it up here. The phone number is.
Anna, they're giving you the phone number now. Are you listening?
You can nod. So
Listen,
the phone number is 1-646-558-8656. And again, that's 1-646-558-8656.
Ms. Ryan, may I add that in the interim, while we're waiting for the phone call?
Sure.
I don't have the letters in front of me, but I don't have a chance to read it. But I don't know that Mr. Hank made any specific reference to materials. So they might be able to answer whether or not, and that may or may not sway your opinion.
The reason I'm asking the question is I am looking to see if you have a contractor's yard or a home-based contracting business or what it is that you have. And again, if there's outside storage of material, that's not allowed with a home-based contracting business.
Understood.
Which may lead the building inspector to point towards a contractor's yard.
I'm just checking a text from my client to see if she apparently hasn't called you yet, as far as I can see. The technology is challenging.
This is true.
It says they are she's texted me, they are asking for an ID.
Oh, an ID number. Well, I think the ID is 200-541-019.
Again, Keith?
It's 200-541-019.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for any other attendees, if you have something to say or you want to type in this conversation, just raise your hand so we know that you have something to say.
I do have a question on the owner. Are they living at 100 River Road?
May I answer while we wait for them?
Absolutely.
They don't yet move there. You might know that's an antique house. It was purchased in March. So they're in the process of doing a rehab of it so Monroy can move in.
Where do they live?
I may need him to give his answer as to his home address right now. I'm not certain.
Do you know what city or municipality their business is registered?
I do not.
Okay, Anna, we can hear you now, but you'll want to turn your audio on your.
One second, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Definitely confusing. There it is.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
We can.
Uh,
We can
I
see
am
you
so
on one
sorry
screen.
for all of this.
We can see you
It's
on
very
one screen.
staticky.
It's
Hello?
static.
There's been a couple of questions while you were trying to get online with us. The folks would like to know if you're living at the 100 River Road. Your council answered no. They'd like to know where you do live.
So, I don't know if you can hear me. The connection is very bad. I'm not having any, you're very, very staticky. But when I was watching, you asked if he's living there. He is not currently living there, but his plan is to live there. At the moment, he's living at 566 Lincoln Street, apartment A302 in Marlboro. His goal is to do everything up to code for him to be able to live at the property 100 River Road West in Berlin.
And the next question was, in what city or town is his business registered?
The office is currently in Marlboro, Massachusetts, but we want to have everything over there in Berlin. We want to have the office with the warehouse.
You also have a PO box in Marlboro?
Yes, it does. It does have a P.O. box.
Who's living in Marlboro? What's the address in Marlboro?
Pardon me?
What's the business
I'm
address
sorry.
in Marlboro?
The office address is 186 Main Street, Suite 9.
The post office box address was different? Is there a different address as
We
well?
do have a P.O. box, correct.
What address did you use to get the PO box? Was that
I'm
Broadman?
sorry, what?
The address that was with the post office box, I think, was a different address as well.
You're extremely staticky.
Okay. Well, I can send out the message afterwards, but it was a different address. Okay.
Anna,
Hello?
we can hear you
And
okay.
Different than 186 Main Street?
Yes.
Yes, this is the
business
office.
name?
Pardon me?
What is your business name?
W. Annie Landscaping and Painting.
Your website has a different address on it. 648 or something,
It has-
Boston Post Road.
Boston Post Road. That website was the website is where are we doing it? That address is a very old address that one of the founders of the company used to live in many, many years ago. He actually, as of right now, he lives in Berlin. That's how much he loves Berlin. He has a house on Allen Road.
Where's the DBA out of?
Pardon me?
Where is your DBA out of? What town is the DBA in?
Oh, it's out of Marlboro.
One other question. Do you have
It's
or
out.
are you storing any materials either construction materials, yard materials, like peat moss or wood chips or anything like that in the open on the property?
We did have mulch, but if that is something you don't want us to have, we can definitely remove it. Anything that you guys want us to remove from the property, we will be removing. We would love to be able to stay there. But as of right now, there is mulch.
And how much mulch,
But-
how many cubic yards of mulch would you estimate?
We usually determine by yard.
Okay,
I want to say about 15 to 20 yards of mulch as of right now.
Where did you store all your equipment before?
Before we went originally there,
Mm-hmm.
we were at a warehouse in Stowe.
We may or may not be home at this time, but if you can leave a message, please do so.
But the
Is there-
reason why we prefer, pardon me, I'm sorry?
is there any material that you have removed from property, brush, any kind of landscaping materials that has been dumped on the property?
No, we will not be doing any dumping on the property. We are getting in contract with D&D Mulch. They also do debris dumping, so we would be dumping the debris over there.
Okay. Could I ask someone if they would care to read into the record the letter from an abutter?
I will bring that up here in a minute.
Does someone have it right there?
I have it.
Okay,
I
Ginny,
am sorry.
Okay, Jeannie.
Okay, Ginny, you have the floor.
This is addressed to the Berlin Zoning Board of Appeals from Tim Wheeler and Janet Woodward, who reside at, they reside on Pleasant Street. The reason for the letter is 100 River Road West. As abutters, we received the hearing notice about an appeal to a cease and desist order issued by the building inspector concerning a contractor's yard at 100 River Road West. We were curious, so we walked through our woodlot and followed the boundary line to the backside of the operation that is currently underway at the 100 River Road West. We were disturbed by what we saw, and we wish to make the following comments, as well as including photos of the site taken from our property. In the Berlin zoning bylaws, section 320, table of principal use regulations, contractors' yards are not listed as an allowed use in the commercial village district in which this property lies. We are aware that a landscape company sought the building inspector's opinion about locating a similar use on this site, and the proponent was advised that the use would not be allowed in this zoning district. Excuse me. The building inspector's cease and desist order in this case is therefore consistent with earlier action taken by that office. We are not aware that any prior effort has been made by the owner of the business to seek the town's opinion as to whether this use would be allowed. It is only as a result of the order of the building inspector and desist that the operator is appearing before the ZBA at this time. We are very concerned about the impact that the large pile of what we assume is landscape refuse will have on the adjoining wetlands on our property. The site topographic is such that any leaching from this pile will move directly into the wetland area that lies within a few feet of our boundary line. We are also concerned that the junk that is in the base of the pile, and in some cases mixed with the pile of landscape waste. From our side of the boundary wall, we could see a television, drain pipe, and a refrigerator. We are apprehensive about other materials that might be found in this dump site. We appreciate that these last matters of concern fall under the jurisdiction of other town boards, but the overall failure of this proposed use of the Town of Berlin rules and regulations and the disregard to the environmental impact resulting from the manner in which this use is conducted leads us to request that the Zoning Board of Appeals deny this appeal. Thank you for your consideration of our opinion. Tim Wheeler and Janet Woodward, 232 Pleasant Street.
Anna, do you have any comments on that letter?
Well, I do. It is a process with the COVID-19. She probably definitely saw the property a mess. With the COVID-19, a lot of projects that we wanted to have accomplished in the property got delayed. We do have a contractor to redo the property to make sure that the property is nice. Our main goal is to make it look very organized, very nice. But we would love to stay there, especially with the convenience of 290 down the road with the Berlin gas station right there. We are giving business back to Berlin. We are giving, we spend thousands of dollars weekly just in gas, just in the gas station. I'm sure if she gives us a second chance, gives us a little bit more of time, we will show how improved that property is, how better looking that property is. Our main goal is to do everything up to code with Berlin to make that a home contractor property, with having the trucks organized, having the materials, not the materials, the equipment in the garage. There will be no noise because no one will be working there. We just need a place. Our company just need a place to leave our trucks. They will be there in the morning and they'll be there in the afternoon. It's not like someone will be there 24 hours. It's not like someone will be there making noises, bothering the neighbors. This is a family-based company. I've known my bosses for years now. They have family. And one of my boss, Selvin, he wants to live there with his family. He has two young sons that are extremely adorable. It's a family-based community. That's where he wants to raise his children, especially with the school district. That is it's a strong district with Tohoto High School, with Berlin Elementary. So that's the environment that they want. The reason why we want to stay in Berlin, especially because of that, because of the home base. And with the garage, with the warehouse, we want to do everything up to code with Berlin. If you don't want us to have the mulch there, even though we want it, we would like if we could have the mulch, but we would have it covered. We would have it, the asphalt paved. We would have everything nice and organized. If that's something you don't want, we are willing to not have at the property. We want to go up to code with you guys.
Madam Chair, should we also have the Conservation Commission check that out?
I'm going to make a suggestion. that before they come back to us, that they go to the other boards. I think even the fire chief, I know in the past, he's had a
Yes.
concern about the storage, especially the outdoor storage of mulch.
Also, if it's affecting the waterways, is that coming to the DEP?
That's conservation.
Okay.
Yes.
And I would suggest that they probably want to talk to them.
Dennis.
Denny's raising
Dennis
his
would like to
hand.
say something.
That phone call that I had was from Walter Bickford on the Conservation Committee.
Oh, okay.
And he is saying that there's gonna be a cease order or something in the yard, I believe pertaining to the backyard where there's the fill and so forth.
Okay.
And my other point is this person the same one that wanted to put a swimming pool or gunite company in there a year or so ago?
No, I think that was
No.
or Dex by Terra. That
There was I don't mean to interrupt too, but did not he attend one of our meetings? He came in after the meeting. He
Yes.
never actually stayed there, but he was at a meeting probably 6 months to a year ago. So he was aware of the zoning board and
that
how
was
to
a
go.
different guy. That was he's
No,
a
it was this
realtor.
gentleman.
It was a realtor in town. I can't think of his name. It's
No,
Suf or something like that.
someone came in after the meeting, Sue?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
remember that, Pat. I remember.
Mr.
Yeah.
Flood, the cause
Yes.
for the, oh, I'm sorry, Ginny.
It's okay.
Ginny?
No, I
Okay.
remember what Pat remembers. He came after the meeting.
The reason for my questioning is I'm looking for reasons why this could be something else, and, you know, like whether or not they live there, what the size of the lot is, the amount of equipment they have. But when it comes right down to it, what we're voting on, or what the board has to vote on, is whether or not the building inspector gave a just determination to your client, Mr. Flood.
Understood.
And I have heard, well, I don't want to prejudice the board, but they can decide for themselves whether or not he made a just decision. I will also ask you, because I'm not sure you followed through. In the 320 table of principal uses, there are letters that are assigned in each area. Now, I know we have discussed that you need to resubmit your petition. I was very surprised to get a petition that asked for a special permit or variance and didn't say what the variance was for. So if you could work on that piece of it, and perhaps we could get it before we need it, so that if there are issues, we can address them before you come forward. But I caution you, again, to read that table 320 and make sure, well, actually, it goes for an accessory use, which is in 340. But know what those letters mean, okay? Also, read the entire section on the home-based contracting business and make sure that you ask for everything you need. Now, I asked you if you would talk to the building inspector and ask him what you needed, because ultimately, he is the one that tells you what you need, and we act on what you submit.
I have had several conversations with him. He's a very nice man.
He is very nice, okay? So you feel comfortable with going ahead with whatever you need to do, right?
We've resubmitted a new letter to him, and we'll be submitting a new, I'll first speak to my clients to make sure they want to go forward, but a new application for probably just a special.
And there's something that goes along with that. it just for me, okay? But please read through things and make sure you apply for everything you need because we can't add on to anything.
Got it. Thank you.
Also, Chapter 40A, Section 10, sets a very stiff criteria for us to allow a variance. We adhere strictly to that. You will need to address, if you're asking for a variance of any sort, which I understand you've been discussing asking for a variance for the equipment. We adhere strictly. One of them, the financial hardship is not too hard to meet. The other three are not easy. Given what's happened here tonight, I would suggest that in this off time, if you will, for those boards that are meeting, not necessarily you having to have a hearing, but you may want to go to other boards and find out what their feeling is about things such as wetlands, etc.
Understood.
Because the questions will arise. Does anybody have anything that they would like to have vented at this hearing? Is there anyone that has any questions before they need to vote?
No.
Would
I would-
council or Anna like
Pardon
to?
me?
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, at this time, no. I'll be honored. I personally would be honored to have a chance to leave our company there. And we are willing to do anything. We're willing to go above and beyond for what you asked. I do understand the wetland. I do understand all of that now that we've talked better about it. We will definitely take precautions if you allow us to stay there. We will definitely do everything up to code with the town of Berlin. If you give us a chance to stay there, and trust me, you will not be disappointed. I've known these guys for many years now, and they are people that if they say something, they will go above and beyond to make it complete. And that's all I can say. I wish we knew this all earlier. I wish that this didn't come to us in a time of crisis, that the whole state is shut down. Pretty much the whole world is shut down because of COVID-19, because we would love to be already renovating the property for Mr. Puano to be able to live there with his family. We would love to put pavement on the yard to organize everything, to be able to have everything so much better and nicer looking.
Well, we appreciate that. We do appreciate that. Mr. Flood, again, I'll suggest to you sooner is better than later. Some of these other boards are meeting virtually. You may want to go through that process and save yourself some time later. And how long have you been counsel for the petitioner?
About a month.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Since a few weeks
Yeah,
after they got that letter.
I would suggest going online and looking for the legal definition of contractor yard. If you look under the planning handbook from Galveston, Texas, they have some excellent definitions in there.
A planning handbook from Galveston, Texas?
Yes, it's very general, and you'll see that it has plenty of definitions for contractor yards. And they cite where they've got their references from.
Well, I think, Mr. Flood, in the absence of it being a home-based contracting business, you will agree that what is there is not allowable at this time, would you not?
The only thing I would oppose is that I'm not sure if it's necessarily a contractor yard, with due respect to the definition that I haven't yet read from Galveston.
I think a contractor's yard is you store equipment, you have a product on the site, you have trailers, you have equipment that can put loom and so forth on trucks and truck it off the yard.
If that's a definition, then yes, it's a contractor's yard.
Mr. Flood, do you have any questions of us?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Anything else from anyone?
I mean, I guess I would just like to say that I appreciate the situation that they're in. Especially if they were renting there a year. When did you say they started renting, Mr. Flood?
I was told approximately a year before purchase, and they purchased it in March.
Gotcha. So, if they've been doing this for a while, it must be frustrating on their side to suddenly realize that maybe they've not been doing it the way they were supposed to all along. So I think I just want to say that I appreciate your situation, and I really like to hear the things that you're saying. To take the right steps to make this right, to go to the different boards is exactly the right attitude, and that's encouraging. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much.
Anything else?
Just that we ask that the determination, I guess, be not upheld so that the fines are not imposed, while we take an opportunity to try and convince you that a special permit or variance should be granted.
Mr. Flood, in order to do that, the board is going to have to find that the building inspector made a bad determination. Is that what you're saying to me?
If that's what you're saying has to be done in order to make your vote, then that's what I'm asking, of course, on behalf of my clients, in an effort to not have them fined.
You do understand the position we're in, do you not?
I do understand that.
Thank you.
You also understand that and my obligation to advocate on behalf of a client.
I do. You're their agent.
Thank you.
Okay. We can either close the hearing and vote, or we can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, and I'm going to word this, I guess. What the applicant is requesting is that the board deny the Town of Berlin Building Commissioner's cease and desist letter and imposition of fines. So I would make a motion, well, we'll put it this way. I'll make a motion to approve the applicant's request.
To overturn the building inspector's determination, is that correct?
That is the wording, correct?
Okay. Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing no second, I'll ask if there's another motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we upheld the building inspector's letter at this time.
Madam Chair, if I may, the reason I originally worded my original motion the way I did is, from my perspective, we don't have an option of upholding the building commissioner's letter. We can either, we have a request that came to us. We can either approve that request or we can deny that request.
And
So,
the request is basically to overturn his determination.
correct.
So you want to overturn his determination. We understood that.
Well, that's the motion that I put forward. I'm not saying that's how I'm going to vote. I'm saying that's the motion that I put forward.
Now you've managed to confuse me, but it's okay. We have a second motion. Do we have a second on the second motion?
Well, wait, can you restate the second motion, please?
It was to upheld the building inspector's determination in the letter.
I'll second that.
Okay, that was Jenny.
Thank
Is
you.
there any further discussion? Jim, do you want to say anything on this motion?
Well, I think the wording is wrong.
Probably is the way I said it.
Could I just ask what wording you would prefer?
our task here is to vote on the request from the petitioner.
No, it's
There-
not.
Oh,
No.
Then why are we having this meeting?
We're having this meeting to either uphold or overturn the determination of the building inspector
Based on what?
based on the bylaw and the letter that he sent to them.
Well, is it not, are we not having this meeting because the petitioner sent us a request, an appeal of that letter?
No.
They're appealing the decision of the building inspector.
Okay, so who are we talking to here when we're voting, when we're saying, with this motion, are we telling the petitioner that we are approving their request, or are we telling them that we're denying their request?
We're denying their request. They asked us, if this is the motion that passes, we're denying their request to overturn the decision of the building inspector.
Well, then why isn't that the motion? It would be my question.
Okay.
It was to uphold, what the motion was to uphold the determination of the building inspector.
Well, I guess my concern here with the terminology, and
Okay,
we're addressing this back to the petitioner, not to the building inspector. So we're dealing with their request. Their request is either going to, well, from my viewpoint,
was to
is either-
overturn the building inspector's determination.
well, our task, from my viewpoint, is we either approve or deny their request.
Okay, so let's make it a compound. Let's make it a compound motion. If
Okay.
the motioner and the second have no objection. And we can add an and. Would that serve your purpose, Mr. Royer?
Well, depending upon the wording, yeah, I guess.
So we can say what was said by Pat, that we are upholding the determination of the building inspector and denying the petition? Is that
Correct.
what you want?
We could deny the, and denying your request.
And denying the petitioner's request.
Correct.
Do you have any objection, Pat, to adding that language?
None whatsoever.
Jenny?
no,
Okay. So I think we misunderstood you, Mr. Royer.
Not a problem. That's why I'm
Okay.
here.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the now compound motion?
None.
Are you comfortable, Sue, with what was said?
I wrote down that Pat motioned to uphold the building inspector's determination and to deny the petitioner's request, seconded by Ginny.
Okay. Is everybody on board with what the motion is?
Yes,
yep,
Okay, I'm going to take a roll call vote, and I'll take a roll call vote of the regular members. Mr. Susie?
I am a yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a regular member, so that's all right. Jim?
Yes.
Ginny?
yes,
Denny?
Yes.
Sue? You're
I'm an
not either.
alternate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget who's what, you know?
me.
It
I'm
Pat.
it
also-
says it on the
Yes.
screen.
Okay. And I'm a yes. So the decision is 5-0 unanimous. Okay, Mr. Flood, is there anything you'd like to say?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Might I suggest that you work with the building inspector and file your paperwork. It may make a difference to him as to what's happening, if you know what I'm saying.
Would you clarify what you're saying?
Well, it's up to the building inspector to apply fines, is it not?
Sounds that way, yes.
Okay, enough said. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
So moved.
so moved.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
You,
First, who's the second?
Sue, just pick one.
All right.
I'll second.
Yeah. Are we going to continue this to a later date?
No.
Mm-mm.
What happened, Jenny, was when they filed the paperwork, they filed for an overturning of the determination of the building inspector, a special permit, and/or variance. And in my communication with Mr. Flood, I explained to him we can't do and/or, and that if he was asking for a use variance, we are not empowered to give use variances. And I told him that he would need to refile the paperwork, but we would accept the application for the determination of the building inspector, because council has told us that that is not excluded from Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020. So does that make sense, Denny, or have I just confused or muddied?
You may confuse more. So they're going to have to start this process all over again,
They're going to have to refile.
refile, and go to all the abutters and so forth and so on.
It will.
Okay.
It will. And it will have to go to town boards. And if the cues I'm trying to give, it will be for a third item also, but we'll see. If not, maybe it will be an issue later. Okay. Is
You need to-
everybody happy?
Happy.
All right, please vote.
Is there
Vote to
anything?
close. Roll
Again,
call.
yeah, again, Sue, I thank you very much, okay? And Keith, you've been a big help. Margaret, thank you for hanging in there.
We haven't done the roll call on closing the hearing yet.
Okay,
Sure.
all right, thank you.
That's what,
Keith,
yeah.
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jenny, and you
Yes.
can eliminate Alf and Keith. Jenny,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes, 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 yes.
and I'm a yes.
In case you're wondering, I'm a yes too.
Excellent.
So I'm gonna demote Mr. Floyd, and I'm sorry, Anna, I don't know your last name at this point. But
Souza.
have anything else you want to ask or say before we send you back to the attendee? You can still monitor the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but we're closing this portion of the hearing. I guess I would also go ahead.
No, that's it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
It doesn't end here. You guys understand, right? You just need to go back to the inspector, and you have plenty of options with her, I'm sure. So good luck with it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna drop you guys out. So thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Now, do we have anything else on the agenda that I've missed that we didn't get to? Everybody knows when our next meeting is, correct?
5:15.
Okay.
Is Louise Janda still in the attendees?
She is.
Okay, I don't know if she wants to say something. I know I had a brief correspondence with her regarding 28 Oak Street and whether the Conservation Commission had approved whatever it was they needed to approve for that special permit.
Louise, would you like to jump in?
Is she on the phone?
All I see is a name, and it doesn't. She could be watching TV for all we know.
Ah, there she is.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. The Conservation Commission is waiting to make sure that all the vegetation has taken root and everything, before we actually close, but we have to decide with what they've done so far.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Louise. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, anything else? Did I miss anything on the agenda? Keith, you keep me honest.
Well, I'd have to read it. Hold on for a second.
You'd have to read it.
Let's see, we got our 6:45. We have to approve the past meeting minutes, which we did. Sign warrants and reorganization, we did. Any unforeseen
And
issues?
set the next meeting, which we've done, right? And
Yeah.
everybody's available for the next meeting?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Lynn, back before all of this quarantining, I had submitted a definition for a contractor yard, and I thought it went forward to planning board. Do we know what happened with that?
Yes, well, it appears that the planning board has chopped a lot of things off and they're looking to put them in the fall. They know that, and in fact, even if Margaret wanted to speak up, she can. They're looking to keep the town meeting as small as possible because it's probably going to be in a tent out at the school or something. And they're looking to have, if possible, another town meeting later in the year when they'll take up these other articles. The same happened to several that I gave to Tim too.
Okay.
Through the chair, that's correct. We do hope to have a special town meeting where we can take care of all the other articles that were dropped from this warrant in order to shorten the town meeting. And yes, town meeting will be outside Berlin Memorial School on June 22nd with a rain date of June 24th.
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 Oh. Days? What is the 22nd? What day of the week? A Monday?
That's a Monday.
So it's either Monday or Wednesday?
Yes.
You know, one thing I was thinking of, Margaret, you could even say to them, bring your own chairs.
We could, but we're going to have chairs set up there anyway.
Well, I'm just thinking, you know, you wouldn't have to be wiping them down and you wouldn't have to be worried if it's got them.
It's true. It's true. It's going to be a bit of an ordeal. But for tonight, I wanted to thank you all for allowing me to join your meeting. I enjoyed sitting here and listening to it, and nice job.
And you see how they keep me in line, right?
I absolutely do.
Good luck with that.
In fact, I suggest we close this meeting.
Well, if you want to hold on for a second, does anybody see anything else happening in town?
Oh, there's one,
What's the matter, Joe?
Marlboro Road. I saw someplace, a plumber with trucks and so forth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did anybody see about the LASA going on
Yes,
or
Yes, I
looking to
did.
buy the land up and back of me, across the street from me?
yes, I
Yes.
looked at their website too. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they seem like a very, you know, spiritual group. I just wonder, the one piece that's usable, most of it's wetland. It's several acres, but it's on a hill. So they're meeting with they're meeting with the selectmen on Monday.
Okay.
So if
Behind
anybody's,
you or across the street?
well, there's about 40 acres or something. It's
70.
down the other side of the railroad tracks. It's Wilson's land. And
It's
it
up
goes
behind
all,
up behind the pet resort place there.
yes, but it's also up as far as
Yeah.
495.
Yes,
Right.
it goes all the way to 495.
But the access, I think, would be between you know where Sawyer Hill meets 62, and there's the ice cream place and so forth. There's a strip of land between there and the dog grooming or whatever,
Correct.
and that goes up and back, and that would give them access.
We
But
got
from what
the
I see,
railroad
most of
tracks.
it's wetlands. the reason I feel free to speak is I don't think this will come before us, because they're a charitable organization or a nonprofit organization, but they're going to have a parking for 150. They want it to be their main location. They're going to have a prayer hall and cafeteria, and it's quite a large building they want to build. Looking at Jenny's face is so much fun.
Lynn, would that
It's
fall,
all Pete Moss out there.
would that be tax exempt?
Yeah,
The whole
the
thing?
church organization, the whole thing would be tax exempt.
Yeah, it's nonprofit at best. I don't know. I don't think they list themselves as a religious organization, more spiritual than. I think it derives from India, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Val?
love all, serve all, or something or other.
Yeah, love all, serve all.
Well, good luck to
So,
them.
Peace and love, I
Well, it
guess.
seems like an interesting organization, but I don't know how they build anything back there. I mean, it just, from what
I
I
think
see of
it-
the maps, there's little chunks of dry land, but most of it's wetland. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, bring your bug spray.
Is it part of Hog Swamp?
Yes.
yes, that's
Yes.
part of Hog Swamp down there.
Oof. Wow.
I don't know. At some point, they're going to drive me out of the neighborhood. No,
Like-
just it's so commercial. You know, every time the insurance company comes, they said, "You live in a commercial area." I said, "No, I don't. It's not supposed to be."
Mm.
Anybody have anything else? Has
No.
everybody voted? Or I know Ellie was trying to suggest that we do absentee ballots.
I've
For
already
anybody.
done it.
I've done mine.
Don't mind.
Yay!
Do we email them to the applications to Ellie?
I think I printed the application and mailed it to her. And she mailed me the ballot, and then I mailed the ballot back. Is that how it went, Pat? Do you
Yeah,
remember?
I dropped mine in the Dropbox down there. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you
I
fill it
mailed
out.
it. Mhm.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of the Dropbox, I will write up a decision for tonight, and we can do the same thing we did before,
Okay.
where I'll leave it in the entryway, and you can wear your gloves and your masks, and bring your own pen, and lots of spray, and we can get it signed and sent off.
Okay.
So now these people are gonna be able to come back again and try to get what they're doing. or what
Who's
they-
listening to us?
Well,
Air Raid?
we're being recorded right
Oh,
now.
it's a motorcycle. I'm sitting outside.
Oh,
Okay, we closed the meeting, did we not?
no,
Yes, we
haven't.
did.
No, we have not voted on
No,
closing
no,
the
we
meeting
closed
yet.
the hearing.
Okay,
oh,
I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I
So
will
moved.
second your motion.
Good.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? Roll call. Keith,
Yes, close the meeting. No further discussion.
Jim,
Aye.
Jenny,
Yes.
Dennis,
yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Pat.
Yep.